The pregnancy test fell from her shaking hands as she heard the announcement echo through Terminal 3. Final boarding call. Her wheelchair was gone, stolen by her billionaire husband's mistress. And Graham, he just kept walking. What happened next at that airport would destroy a marriage, expose a carefully planned betrayal, and force one woman to choose between disappearing quietly or fighting back against impossible odds. 8 months pregnant, crawling across cold airport tile, hundreds of people watching, cameras recording. This was supposed to be the moment that broke Charlotte Hayes completely. But here's what her husband didn't count on. Sometimes the cruelest moments reveal who we really are. Sometimes being abandoned forces you to find strength you never knew existed. And sometimes the wheelchair they use to humiliate you becomes the symbol of your power. This is the story of how one viral video, one devastating courtroom battle, and one newborn baby transformed public humiliation into a movement that would change everything. Not just for Charlotte, but for every person who's been told their disability makes them less. What Graham Hayes did at that airport was calculated cruelty. What happened next? He never saw it coming. This is Charlotte's story. The announcement echoed through Terminal 3. Final boarding call for Flight 217 to Paris. Charlotte Hayes watched her wheelchair disappear into the crowd, in the hands of her husband's mistress. The world tilted, not from dizziness, from disbelief. Brooke Sutton moved fast for someone in 4-inch heels. The custom wheelchair, Charlotte's wheelchair, rolled smoothly ahead, through the gate area, past the coffee stand, toward the jetway. Graham, Charlotte's voice came out weak. 8 months pregnant, sitting on cold airport tile, watching her husband walk away. He didn't turn around. Graham! Louder this time. Her hands pressed against the floor. Sticky. Someone had spilled soda. The sweetness hit her nose, made her stomach turn. 20 feet ahead, Graham Hayes lifted his phone to his ear. Briefcase swinging. Italian leather shoes clicking on tile. Click, click, click. The sound cut through the gate announcements and crying babies and rolling luggage. He kept walking. This is happening. The thought arrived clear and cold. Graham is 20 feet ahead. He sees me. He keeps walking. Charlotte looked around. Hundreds of people, moving, rushing, pulling suitcases, checking phones. A woman in a business suit glanced at her, looked away fast. A teenager slowed. His mother pulled him along. Nobody stopped. The gate agent's voice crackled over the speaker. This is the final boarding call for Flight 217 to Paris. All passengers should be on board at this time. Charlotte tried to stand. Her legs, weak from 3 years in a wheelchair, couldn't support her weight. Not with the extra 35 pounds of pregnancy. Not from a sitting position on the floor. She had to crawl. The realization hit like ice water. To reach the gate, to reach Graham, to reach her wheelchair, she had to crawl across the airport floor. Her palms pressed flat, cold tile, grit under her hands. The smell of coffee from the nearby Starbucks mixed with cleaning solution and jet fuel seeping in from outside. She moved forward, 6 inches. Her pregnant belly hung low, made every movement awkward, made every breath harder. Ma'am? A security guard appeared beside her. Officer Marcus Reynolds, according to his name tag. 50-something. Kind eyes. Concerned face. Ma'am, do you need assistance? My wheelchair, Charlotte pointed. That woman took my wheelchair. Brooke stood at the gate entrance now, 27 years old. Perfect hair, perfect makeup. Graham's executive assistant. Graham's mistress, holding Charlotte's wheelchair like she owned it. Ma'am, your husband's companion said you insisted on doing this yourself. Officer Reynolds glanced at Brooke. Some kind of exercise? Charlotte's breath caught. Not from exertion, from understanding. They planned this. The early morning flight, Graham insisting she come. Brooke waiting at passenger pickup. The wheelchair in the trunk. Everything calculated. I'm not doing exercise, Charlotte said. Her voice shook. I'm 8 months pregnant. I need my wheelchair. She took it. Officer Reynolds straightened, started toward Brooke, but Brooke had already disappeared through the jetway, with the wheelchair, with Graham right behind her. Sir, wait, Charlotte's voice broke. My husband, he's leaving me here. The gate agent closed the door. The jetway pulled back. Through the window, Charlotte watched the plane. Flight 217 to Paris, with her husband and his mistress on board, and her wheelchair. Without her. Officer Reynolds helped her into an airport wheelchair. Standard issue. Too big, uncomfortable. Nothing like her custom chair that fit her body perfectly. "I'm so sorry, ma'am. Let me call my supervisor. We need to file a report." Charlotte sat, hands shaking, belly tight with what might be contractions or might be panic. "I'm not being dramatic." The thought came clear and certain. "This is abuse." Her phone buzzed. 17 missed calls from Diane. 3 from Evelyn, Graham's mother. None from Graham. The terminal blurred, sounds muffled. Charlotte stared at the window where the plane had been, where Graham had just flown away. To Paris. For a week with Brooke. "He left me." The certainty settled in her peace. He actually left me here." A man approached. 30s, jeans and a button-down shirt. Concerned expression. "Ma'am, I'm Vincent Marshall. I'm a journalist. I recorded what just happened. I think you need to see this." He held out his phone. Charlotte watched herself, on the small screen, sitting on the airport floor, hands pressed against sticky tile, calling Graham's name, watching him walk away. The video showed what she couldn't see while living it. Graham's face turning, for just 1 second, looking directly at her, then back to his phone. Keep walking. He knew. He saw. He chose to leave. Charlotte's gasp came out as Officer Reynolds steadied the wheelchair. "I have about 3 minutes of footage," Vincent said quietly. "What happened to you was wrong. It might be criminal. But it's your choice what happens next." Charlotte stared at the frozen image on his phone. Her on the ground, Graham walking, Brooke smiling. Her phone rang. Unknown number. "Mrs. Hayes?" A woman's voice. Crisp, professional. "This is Jennifer Blackwell from Hayes & Associates legal team. Mr. Hayes has asked me to inform you of certain contractual obligations in your prenuptial agreement." Charlotte's stomach dropped. "Mrs. Hayes, if you don't sign the amendment paperwork by 5 p.m. today, you forfeit everything in the prenuptial agreement, including your medical trust fund." "What amendment?" "The papers were messengered to your residence this morning. They require your signature before Mr. Hayes returns from his business trip." "His business trip?" Charlotte's voice came out flat. "Dead. With his assistant." Silence on the line. Then carefully. "The papers require your signature by 5 p.m. That's all I'm authorized to say." The call ended. Charlotte looked at Officer Reynolds, at Vincent Marshall, at the closed gate where her husband had just abandoned her, at the phone with 17 missed calls from her best friend, at her reflection in the dark window. 8 months pregnant, in a borrowed wheelchair, alone. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a plan, and she had 5 hours to decide what to do about it. Charlotte's phone finally connected to Diane Patterson. 3 rings, then her best friend's voice, rapid and fierce. "Where are you? I've been calling for 2 hours. I went to your house, and you weren't there. And your phone kept going to voicemail, and I was about to call the police." "I'm at the airport." Charlotte's voice sounded hollow, like it belonged to someone else. "Why are you at the airport?" "Graham left me." Pause, then slower. "Left you where?" "At the airport. He left me at the airport." Diane's breathing changed. Charlotte heard a car door slam. Engine starting. "Stay exactly where you are. Do not move. Do not talk to anyone except security. I'm calling Patricia Morrison right now." "Who's Patricia Morrison?" "The best divorce attorney in the state. I'm on my way." The call ended. Charlotte sat in the borrowed wheelchair. Officer Reynolds had moved her to the airport medical station. Quieter here, away from the crowds. A nurse checked her blood pressure. 140/90, the nurse said. Her face showed concern. "That's elevated, and your baby's heartbeat is a little rapid. When's your due date?" 4 weeks. "You need to see your regular doctor today. This level of stress isn't safe for you or the baby." Vincent Marshall still stood nearby, respectful distance, patient, like he knew she needed time to process. "Can I see the video again?" Charlotte asked. He handed over his phone without a word. Charlotte watched. This time she noticed details. The way Graham's jaw tightened when Brooke took the wheelchair. Not anger, satisfaction. The way he checked his watch. Perfect timing. The way Brooke glanced back once. Not guilty, triumphant. This was the moment of rewatching your own humiliation. Seeing what you couldn't see while living it. Understanding that everyone watching knew something you didn't. That you were performing in a play where everyone had the script except you. How long were you filming that, Charlotte asked. About 3 minutes total. From when I saw her take your wheelchair until the plane door closed. 3 minutes. Charlotte's entire life had changed in 3 minutes. Her phone buzzed. Text from unknown number. A photo. Legal documents. Blurry but readable. Amendment to prenuptial agreement. Charlotte zoomed in. Legalese filled the page. But certain phrases jumped out. Wife acknowledges inability to fulfill marital obligations. Wife agrees to relinquish claims to marital assets. Wife surrenders custody rights pending fitness evaluation. Her hands shook so hard she almost dropped the phone. Mrs. Hayes? Officer Reynolds returned with his supervisor. We've filed an incident report. Theft of mobility device. We have security footage from multiple angles. The airline is cooperating with our investigation. Investigation into what? Possible disability discrimination. Theft. We're still determining appropriate charges. Charlotte looked at the phone. At the amendment that would strip her of everything, at the video of her crawling, at the text demanding her signature by 5 p.m., at the gate where her husband had abandoned her. The medical station door burst open. Diane rushed in, 29 years old, blonde ponytail swinging, yoga pants and a sweatshirt. She'd come straight from her physical therapy practice. She took one look at Charlotte and started crying. Honey, Diane knelt beside the wheelchair. Grabbed Charlotte's hands. What did he do? What did that piece of garbage do? Charlotte opened her mouth. Nothing came out. The words stuck in her throat. So she just held up the phone. Showed Diane the video. Diane watched in silence. Her face went from confused to shocked to absolutely furious. I'm going to kill him, Diane said quietly. I'm actually going to kill him. He wants me to sign papers. By 5 p.m. today, if I don't, I lose everything. Patricia Morrison is meeting us at her office in 30 minutes. Do not sign anything. Do not respond to any calls. Do not engage. Diane, he left me. He just left me crawling. Honey, I know. And he's going to regret it. Every single day for the rest of his life. Officer Reynolds cleared his throat. Ma'am, I need to ask, do you want to press charges? Did she? Charlotte stared at the phone screen. Frozen image of herself on the ground. Graham walking away. I don't know, she whispered. I don't know anything anymore. Diane stood, took charge. We're going to see her attorney. Can we get a copy of your incident report? Already printed. Officer Reynolds handed over papers. And ma'am, he looked at Charlotte. What happened to you was wrong. No one should be treated like that, especially not by someone who promised to love and protect them. The words hit Charlotte like a physical blow. Love and protect, their wedding vows. 5 years ago, Graham in his tuxedo, hand on her heart. I promise to love and protect you, in sickness and in health, for better or worse. She'd had the accident 3 years into their marriage. At first, he'd been supportive, modified the house, bought the accessible van, held her hand through physical therapy. But gradually something shifted. His patience wore thin. His touch grew cold. Separate bedrooms, late nights at work, distance that grew into a chasm. And now this. Dan wheeled Charlotte toward the exit. Vincent Marshall walked alongside. Miss Patterson, I'd like to give you my card, he said. I'm an investigative journalist. What I witnessed today was wrong on multiple levels. If Mrs. Hayes wants to go public with this story, I can help. But only if she wants to. Diane took the card. We'll be in touch. In the parking garage, Diane helped Charlotte into her accessible van. The van Graham had bought her. The van that represented everything that had changed after the accident. Charlotte stared at the empty space where her custom wheelchair should have been. Brooke had taken it to Paris. On the plane, like a trophy. How long has he been planning this? Charlotte asked. The question came out quiet, broken. Diane started the van. I don't know, but we're going to find out. Charlotte's phone buzzed again. Text from Jennifer Blackwell. Reminder, papers must be signed by 5 p.m. Messenger is waiting at your residence. 4 hours and 37 minutes. The van pulled out of the parking garage, into morning traffic, toward Patricia Morrison's office, toward answers Charlotte wasn't sure she wanted, but in her lap, Vincent Marshall's card, and on Diane's phone, the video. 3 minutes of evidence. 3 minutes that might change everything. Patricia Morrison's office occupied the top floor of a downtown high-rise, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, mahogany desk that could seat 8, law degrees from Harvard and Yale on the walls. This was a woman who won cases. She was 52, silver hair in a sharp bob, navy power suit, no wedding ring. Patricia Morrison didn't waste time on pleasantries. Let me see the prenuptial agreement. Charlotte pulled up the documents on her phone. The originals sat in a safe deposit box somewhere. Graham had insisted on that. For protection, he'd said. Patricia read in silence, just breathing, page turning on her tablet. The office clock ticked, loud, intrusive. Charlotte's hands rested on her belly. The baby kicked, strong, insistent, reminding her why she was here. After 15 minutes, Patricia removed her reading glasses, set them on the desk with a soft click. Charlotte, did you sign this without independent legal counsel? Graham said we didn't need lawyers fighting. He said lawyers would just create conflict where there wasn't any. He said we trusted each other. Patricia's jaw tightened. You signed away everything, medical trust fund, all marital assets. And this clause. She turned her tablet around. Highlighted text glowed. In the event of divorce proceedings initiated before the first child reaches 1 year of age, wife relinquishes all custody claims pending fitness evaluation by court-appointed medical professionals. Charlotte's stomach dropped. What does that mean? It means if you divorce him before your baby turns 1, he can demand a fitness evaluation. And given your disability, he'll argue you're not capable of independent parenting. The room tilted. Charlotte gripped the wheelchair armrest. But that's illegal. That's discrimination. It's buried in legal language, presented as standard custody protocol. But yes, it's absolutely designed to use your disability against you. Diane, sitting in the chair beside Charlotte, leaned forward. Can we fight it? We can try, but prenuptial agreements are binding contracts. Unless we can prove coercion or lack of informed consent, it stands. Charlotte stared at her signature from 5 years ago. Neat, careful. She'd signed on their wedding day, in the courthouse, right after saying their vows. Graham standing beside her, arm around her waist, whispering, just a formality, babe. Lawyers require it. She trusted him. This was the realization you were making excuses. He was just stressed, just tired, just adjusting. The phrases she'd repeated like mantras for 2 years, explaining away his coldness, his distance, his increasing cruelty disguised as concern. Just tired from work. Just overwhelmed with the house modifications. Just worried about my recovery. Just, all lies, she told herself, because admitting the truth meant admitting she'd married someone who would abandon her when she became inconvenient. Patricia's voice cut through her thoughts. The amendment they're demanding you sign today. Let me see it. Charlotte forwarded the text message, the blurry photos of legal documents. Patricia's expression darkened as she read. This is unconscionable. They're demanding you sign away custody rights, visitation rights, and all financial support. In exchange for $50,000 and permission to remain in your modified house for 6 months. 50,000? Diane's voice rose. He's a billionaire. His company is worth $900 million. And he's offering her 50,000? With a strict non-disclosure agreement, she can't discuss the marriage, the separation, or any details of their relationship. Ever. If she violates it, she owes him $5 million in damages. Charlotte's coffee had gone cold on Patricia's desk. She stared at it. Dark brown liquid. Same color as the tile at the airport. Same color as the truth settling over her. My disability doesn't make me less worthy of respect. The thought came clear and strong. Or love. Or basic human decency. But Graham didn't see it that way. To Graham, the accident had transformed her from asset to liability. From trophy wife to burden. From partner to problem. Don't sign it, Patricia said firmly. Not today, not ever. Give me 24 hours to review your full situation. I have until 5 p.m. Then call them at 4:59 and say you're consulting legal counsel. They can't force you to sign without representation. Charlotte's phone buzzed, unknown number. She ignored it. Patricia made notes on a legal pad. I need you to answer some questions, and I need complete honesty. Okay. When did the affair start? Charlotte blinked. I don't know that there's an affair. Patricia looked up, patient but firm. Charlotte, he brought his assistant on a week-long trip to Paris. She stole your wheelchair. He walked away while you crawled. There's an affair. The words hung in the air. Undeniable. Obvious. I don't know when it started, Charlotte said finally. Best guess. Charlotte thought back. Flashbacks hit like physical blows. Their third anniversary. Graham on his laptop through dinner. Just one call, babe. The call lasted 2 hours. Her accident, hospital. Evelyn pulling Graham aside, whispering, his face hardening when he returned. Mom thinks we should talk about your recovery timeline. Physical therapy, Graham attending the first 3 sessions, then none. You don't need me there, you're doing great. Recovery at home, her apologizing, constantly, for needing help, for being slow, for being different. Their 4th anniversary, him. Remember when you used to run marathons? Brooks starting at his company. 6 months after the wedding, young, ambitious, always traveling with Graham, always. Maybe 2 years, Charlotte said quietly. Maybe longer. Patricia wrote that down. Medical trust fund. Tell me about it. It was set up as part of the prenup. $1 million in a trust for my medical expenses, wheelchair maintenance, physical therapy, adaptive equipment. Graham controls it as trustee. And the clause about your fitness? Charlotte pulled up the document, read aloud. If wife is deemed unable to care for herself or child due to disability or medical condition, husband assumes full custody and control of medical trust pending court review. He's going to use your wheelchair against you, Patricia said. Not a question, a fact. In court, he'll argue that if you can't even keep control of your own mobility device, you can't care for an infant. The truth of it knocked the breath from Charlotte's lungs. Not if we move first, Patricia continued, but I need to know everything. Brissettes, accounts, property, timeline of the relationship, everything. Charlotte nodded, but her mind was spinning. Back to the airport, Graham walking away, the rehearsed quality of it, the timing. He'd been planning this. For how long? There's an emergency OB appointment in an hour, Diane interjected. Her blood pressure was 140/90 at the airport. Patricia's expression shifted to concern. Go, handle your health first. But Charlotte, listen to me. Do not sign anything. Do not communicate directly with Graham or his lawyers. Everything goes through me now. What if they threaten me? Then they threaten you, let them. Threats are evidence. Charlotte's phone buzzed again. Text from Jennifer Blackwell. Mrs. Hayes, the papers must be signed by 5 p.m. The messenger has been instructed not to leave until he has your signature. This is your final reminder. Patricia read the text over Charlotte's shoulder, smiled, cold and sharp. Forward that to me. Harassment, undue pressure. We're building a case. Charlotte forwarded the text, then looked at Patricia. This woman in her perfect suit with her wall of degrees. This stranger who is now the only thing standing between Charlotte and complete destruction. Can we win? Patricia met her eyes. Depends on your definition of winning. Can we protect you and your baby? Yes. Can we get you a fair settlement? Probably. Can we make him regret what he did? Absolutely. It wasn't a guarantee, but it was more hope than Charlotte had felt in hours. Diane wheeled Charlotte toward the elevator. The borrowed airport wheelchair squeaked. Nothing like her custom chair. Her chair was on a plane to Paris, being used by Brooke, or destroyed, or thrown away. In the elevator, Charlotte finally let herself cry. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet tears sliding down her face while Diane held her hand. I loved him, Charlotte whispered. I really loved him. I know you did, honey. That's what makes this so awful. The elevator doors opened. Parking garage. Diane's car waiting. Charlotte's phone rang. Evelyn, Graham's mother. Against her better judgment, Charlotte answered. Charlotte, dear, what on earth is this nonsense I'm hearing about lawyers? Your son left me at an airport. Graham says you're being vindictive, using your condition for sympathy, making a scene. My condition? Charlotte's voice came out cold, steady. You mean my disability? Well, you must admit it's rather convenient timing. Getting pregnant when the prenuptial agreement has that clause about children. Some might say you trapped him. The accusation hung in the air, poison wrapped in concern. Get out, Charlotte said quietly. Excuse me? Out of my life, now. Don't call me, don't text me, don't show up at my house. You raised a man who would leave his 8 months pregnant wife crawling across an airport floor. That's all I need to know about you. Charlotte ended the call. Her hands shook, but her voice had been steady, clear, certain. Diane stared at her. Holy crap, you just told off Evelyn Hayes. She called my pregnancy a trap. She's a monster. Always has been. They realize they've been building this narrative for months. She's been the villain in their story all along. Poor Graham, trapped by the disabled wife. Poor Graham, stuck with someone who couldn't be the partner he deserved. Poor Graham, suffering in silence. Except it was all lies. Charlotte was the one who'd been trapped. In a marriage that ended the moment she became disabled. In a house that was designed to control her. In a life that was about to implode. The van pulled out of the parking garage, toward the OB clinic, toward answers Charlotte wasn't sure she could handle, but in her phone, Patricia Morrison's contact information, and on her lap, the prenuptial agreement that Graham thought would protect him. He was wrong. Dr. Rebecca Sullivan's office smelled like lavender and antiseptic, calming colors on the walls, soft music playing, everything designed to soothe pregnant women, but Charlotte couldn't be soothed. Your blood pressure is 150/95, Dr. Sullivan said, removing the cuff. Charlotte, that's dangerously high. You're at risk for preeclampsia. The baby is showing signs of distress. What kind of distress? Elevated heart rate, decreased movement. Your stress is affecting the baby. Dr. Sullivan pulled her stool closer. Tell me what's going on. Charlotte looked at Diane, then back at Dr. Sullivan. Where did she even start? My husband left me at the airport this morning. While I was 8 months pregnant, he let his mistress steal my wheelchair. I had to crawl across the terminal floor. Now he wants me to sign papers giving up custody and all my rights. Dr. Sullivan's professional mask slipped. He did what? There's video, Diane said quietly, pulling out her phone. Dr. Sullivan watched in silence. Her expression transformed from disbelief to fury to clinical concern. Charlotte, I need to be very clear with you. If your stress level doesn't decrease immediately, we're looking at potential early delivery. At 36 weeks, the baby would likely be fine. But there are risks, respiratory issues, feeding difficulties, potential NICU time. How do I reduce stress when my entire life is falling apart? You fight back. Dr. Sullivan's voice turned fierce. You document everything. You protect yourself and this baby. And you let me write a very detailed letter about how your husband's actions are directly endangering this pregnancy. Charlotte's phone buzzed. She ignored it. It had been buzzing constantly for the past hour. Unknown numbers. Jennifer Blackwell, Graham's business line, all demanding her signature. The papers have to be signed by 5 p.m., Charlotte said. It's 3:15 now. Then don't sign them, Dr. Sullivan said firmly. What are they going to do? Sue a pregnant, disabled woman for not signing away her rights fast enough? Let them try. Patricia Morrison had said something similar. But hearing it from her doctor, hearing it from someone who'd supported her through this entire pregnancy, made it feel real. After the appointment, Diane drove Charlotte home. The house Graham had modified after the accident. Wider doorways, roll-in shower, accessible kitchen, everything custom designed. Everything a cage. A man in a suit stood on the porch. Messenger, briefcase in hand. He'd been waiting for 4 hours. Mrs. Hayes, he approached the van. I have papers that require your signature. She's not signing anything today, Diane said sharply. Ma'am, I've been instructed not to leave until, then camp out on the lawn. She's not signing. Diane helped Charlotte inside, locked the door. The messenger stayed on the porch. Inside, Charlotte finally allowed herself to look around. Really look. At the house Graham had built for her? No, not for her, to contain her. The modified kitchen she'd thought was thoughtful, it kept her in one place. The accessible bedroom on the first floor? It separated her from Graham, who slept upstairs. The roll-in shower? It meant she never had to leave this house, never had to ask anyone for help getting into a car, never had to be seen by his friends or colleagues. He'd built her a beautiful prison. I need to search his office, Charlotte said suddenly. What? Graham's office, upstairs. I never go up there. Can't get the wheelchair up the stairs. But you can. Understanding dawned in Diane's eyes. What am I looking for? Anything, everything, evidence that he planned this. Diane took the stairs two at a time. Charlotte waited below, listening to drawers opening, file cabinets sliding, papers rustling. 20 minutes later, Diane returned, arms full of folders, face grim. Char, you need to see this. They spread the documents across the accessible kitchen table. Charlotte's hands shook as she sorted through them. Receipts for Paris, the hotel, booked 8 months ago. The week after Charlotte told Graham she was pregnant. 2 tickets, 2 rooms, adjoining rooms, jewelry purchases, a diamond bracelet, sapphire earrings, pearl necklace, none of them gifts Charlotte had ever received. Credit card statements, charges at romantic restaurants, spa days for 2, weekend trips to Napa, all in the past 2 years, all while Charlotte was home, recovering, adjusting, trusting. And then the worst one, a consultation note from a law firm, dated 6 months ago. Client inquires about options for annulment or divorce based on spouse's incapacity to fulfill marital obligations. Advised that disability alone insufficient grounds. Recommended documenting instances of inability to perform standard household or parental duties. Suggested custody evaluation post-birth to establish pattern of dependence. Charlotte read it 3 times. Each time the words cut deeper. Spouse's incapacity, inability to perform duties, pattern of dependence. They'd been building this case for 6 months. Every time Graham helped her. Every time he did something she could have done herself. Every time he insisted on handling things alone. Documentation, evidence, proof that she couldn't manage without him. I'm going to be sick, Charlotte whispered. Diane grabbed the trash can. Charlotte dry heaved over it. Nothing came up. Just bile and horror and the remains of trust. This was sitting in parked car, unable to go inside. The moment when you know something terrible is waiting and you can't face it yet. Diane found Charlotte in the garage later, hands on the steering wheel of the accessible van, staring straight ahead at the closed garage door. I can't go back in there, Charlotte said. Everything in that house is a lie. Then we burn it down, metaphorically mostly. Diane's attempt at humor didn't land, but it broke the paralysis. They went back inside, photographed every document, emailed copies to Patricia Morrison, organized evidence into folders labeled by date and category. Charlotte's phone rang. Patricia. I got the documents, Patricia said. Charlotte, this is good. This proves premeditation. Planning, intent to defraud you of your rights. It proves he never loved me, not after the accident. It proves he's a calculating bastard, which is exactly what we need. Patricia's voice softened slightly. I know this hurts, but pain means evidence, and evidence means we can fight. There's more, Charlotte said. She told Patricia about the investigator's findings, the offshore accounts, the business partner who'd overheard conversations about clearing out dead weight. Give me his business partner's name. Harold Pemberton. Silence on the line. Then, I know Harold. His sister is disabled. Ms. If Graham said what I think he said in front of Harold, we have an ally. Why would he help me? Because some men have consciences. And because what Graham did to you affects Harold's company reputation. Board of directors won't like disability discrimination tied to their CEO. Hope flickered, small, fragile, but real. What do I do now? Nothing. Rest. Lower your blood pressure. Let me handle the legal warfare. And Charlotte, it's 4:45. In 15 minutes, they're going to call and threaten you. Don't answer. Let it go to voicemail. We'll use their threats as evidence. The call ended. At 4:57 p.m., Charlotte's phone rang. Jennifer Blackwell. Charlotte let it ring. Watched the call go to voicemail. Waited. At 5:02, the messenger knocked on the door. Aggressive, demanding. Diane answered. She's not signing. Leave the premises or we're calling the police. Mr. Hayes will be very disappointed. Mr. Hayes can be disappointed from Paris. Get off our property. The messenger left. Finally, at 5:15, a voicemail appeared. Jennifer Blackwell's voice clipped and cold. Mrs. Hayes, you have violated the terms of the prenuptial agreement by failing to sign the amendment within the specified timeframe. Be advised that Mr. Hayes will be taking immediate legal action to protect his interests and ensure the well-being of his unborn child. Your failure to cooperate will be noted in all future proceedings. Charlotte played it for Patricia, for Dr. Sullivan, for the investigator Patricia had hired that afternoon. Evidence. All of it evidence. But Charlotte sat in her living room in the borrowed wheelchair, surrounded by proof that her husband had been planning to discard her for months, and felt nothing but emptiness. Her phone buzzed. Email notification. Vincent Marshall's article had gone live. Billionaire CEO abandons pregnant disabled wife at airport. The story was carefully written. Factual. No embellishment needed. The video wasn't included, not yet. But the description of events was damning enough. Within 30 minutes, Charlotte's phone exploded. Messages, calls, media requests, friends she hadn't heard from in years. People offering support, people demanding answers. And at 6:30 p.m., Graham's plane landed. He would see the headline. He would know that Charlotte hadn't stayed quiet, hadn't signed the papers, hadn't disappeared the way he'd planned. At 7:05, Graham called Charlotte for the first time since walking away at the airport. Patricia had told her not to answer, to let everything go through attorneys, but Charlotte answered anyway. Graham's voice came through cold, controlled. Charlotte, this is ridiculous. You're making a spectacle of yourself. You left me crawling across an airport floor. You insisted on coming to the airport. I had business to attend to. With Brooke. Pause, calculation. My assistant accompanies me on business trips. That's standard corporate practice. Your mistress stole my wheelchair. That's inflammatory language. Brooke was trying to help you avoid the crowds. You're taking this out of context. Help me? Charlotte's voice rose. Graham, I was 8 months pregnant, on my hands and knees, crawling across tile while you walked away. I called your name. You looked right at me, and you kept walking. You're being emotional. Pregnancy hormones make you irrational. This is exactly why the fitness evaluation is necessary. The gaslighting was so blatant it almost took her breath away. Almost. But Charlotte wasn't the same woman who had sat on the airport floor that morning. She'd seen the evidence, read the consultation notes, understood the plan. She put the phone on speaker. Patricia was listening on another line. Patricia's voice cut in, professional and sharp. Mr. Hayes, this is Patricia Morrison. I'm Mrs. Hayes' attorney. Any further communication goes through me. Do not contact my client directly again. Charlotte doesn't need an attorney. This is a family matter. You forfeited the right to call it a family matter when you abandoned your wife at an airport. All future communication goes through legal counsel. Have your attorney contact my office. Click. Patricia had hung up on him. Charlotte stared at her phone. Diane was crying and laughing at the same time. Oh my God, she hung up on him. Patricia Morrison hung up on Graham Hayes. He's going to lose his mind, Charlotte said softly. Good. Patricia's voice came through Charlotte's phone. She was still on the line. Let him. Angry people make mistakes, and we need him to make mistakes. That night, Charlotte couldn't sleep. She lay in the accessible bedroom on the first floor, listening to the house settle. The house Graham had built as a cage. But tomorrow she'd start dismantling the bars. Charlotte woke at 3 a.m., not from a nightmare, from silence. The house was too quiet. She reached for her phone. 27 new messages, most from reporters. 3 from Diane, 1 from Patricia Morrison. Patricia's message, emergency motion filed. Graham requesting immediate custody evaluation. Hearing Monday. Be ready. Today was Saturday. Monday was 2 days away. Charlotte's stomach cramped. Not contractions. Fear. She tried to go back to sleep. Failed. At 5 a.m., she gave up. Wheeled herself to the kitchen, made coffee, sat in the dark watching the sun rise through the windows Graham had installed so she could enjoy the view. Her phone rang at 6:15 a.m. Patricia Morrison didn't believe in sleeping in. They filed at midnight, Patricia said without preamble. Emergency motion claiming you're mentally unstable and physically incapable of caring for an infant. They're using yesterday's blood pressure reading as evidence. Dr. Sullivan will testify that my blood pressure spiked because of Graham's actions. She already submitted a declaration. But Charlotte, we need to prepare you. This hearing is going to be brutal. They're going to attack your disability, your independence, your capability to parent. I've been preparing for this baby for 8 months. I know, and we're going to prove it. But first, I need you to do something difficult. What? Tell me every instance in the past year where Graham made you feel incapable. Every time he insisted on doing something for you that you could have done yourself. Every comment about your disability. Everything. Charlotte closed her eyes. The memories flooded back. Graham taking over all grocery shopping. It's easier if I do it. You hate crowded stores anyway. Graham handling all baby preparations. I'll set up the nursery. You just rest. Graham managing all finances. You don't need to worry about money. That's my job. Every act of help had been removing her autonomy, building his case that she couldn't function independently. He was documenting my dependence, Charlotte said slowly. Everything he did for me, he was using as proof I couldn't do it myself. Exactly, but here's what they didn't count on. You've been preparing too. Show me your nursery. Charlotte wheeled herself down the hall. The nursery door was closed. She'd been avoiding it, but now she opened it. Everything was accessible. Modified changing table at wheelchair height. Roll-under crib she could access easily. Supplies organized in low drawers. Every detail thought through. Video call me, Patricia instructed. Charlotte switched to video, showed Patricia the room. This is perfect, Patricia said. This proves preparation, planning, capability. Send me a video tour, every angle. And Charlotte, check your email. I sent you something. Charlotte opened her email. Physical therapy records. Months of documentation showing her strength training, core work, arm strengthening, all preparation for lifting and carrying a baby. You've been training your body for motherhood, Patricia said. That's not someone who's incapable. That's someone who's determined. A knock at the door interrupted them. Charlotte checked the security camera. Diane, carrying coffee and bagels. Your best friend is here, Charlotte told Patricia. Good. She's on the witness list. Anyone who can testify to your capability and Graham's cruelty. We're building an army. The call ended. Charlotte let Diane in. You look awful, Diane said bluntly. Did you sleep at all? No. Me neither. I spent all night going through social media. Want to see something interesting? Diane pulled up her phone. Instagram, Brooke Sutton's account. Private, but Diane had screenshots from mutual friends. Photos from Paris, posted yesterday. Brooke in front of the Eiffel Tower. Brooke at a fancy restaurant. Brooke wearing sapphire earrings Charlotte had seen on the credit card statements. And in the background of one photo, barely visible, Charlotte's custom wheelchair. Folded, propped against a hotel wall. She took it to Paris, Charlotte whispered. As what? A souvenir? As proof she won, Diane said grimly. Look at the caption. Charlotte read, sometimes the best things in life are worth waiting for. Paris has never felt more perfect. The cruelty took her breath away. Brooke wasn't just the mistress. She was flaunting her victory. Over Charlotte, over her disability, over everything. Forward these to Patricia, Charlotte said. Her voice had gone cold, steady. The grief was hardening into something sharper. Evidence that they planned this together. Diane sent the screenshots, then looked at Charlotte carefully. Honey, are you okay? No, but I'm going to be. They sat in the accessible kitchen, the morning sun streaming through windows, coffee getting cold, Charlotte's phone buzzing with messages from reporters, friends, strangers offering support. and from enemies. Evelyn had sent a text. This media circus is beneath you, Charlotte. Graham is trying to do what's best for the baby. Stop being vindictive. Charlotte showed Diane the message. Block her, Diane said immediately. No, keep her messages. More evidence. Validation whisper. The thought came clear and certain. I knew something was wrong. I wasn't imagining it. I wasn't being paranoid. Every instinct that told me Graham was pulling away. Every moment I felt like I was losing him. I was right. I was always right. At 10 a.m., a car pulled into the driveway. Harold Pemberton, Graham's business partner. Charlotte recognized him from company events. Should I let him in? Diane asked, protective. Charlotte checked the security camera. Harold stood on the porch, looking uncomfortable but determined. Let him in, but stay with me. Diane opened the door. Harold entered, 58 years old, silver hair, expensive suit, apologetic expression. Mrs. Hayes, I owe you an apology and testimony. Charlotte gestured to the couch. Harold sat. I should have said something sooner. My sister Angela, she has MS. She's been in a wheelchair for 15 years. Strong, independent, amazing mother to 3 kids. He paused. 2 months ago, I heard Graham on the phone, didn't know I was in the office. He was talking to his lawyer about you. What did he say? Harold pulled out his phone. I recorded it because what he said about you reminded me of things people used to say about Angela before we all learned better. He played the recording, Graham's voice clear and cold. The wheelchair makes her pathetic. The pregnancy makes her trapped. It's the perfect combination. She can't leave. She can't fight back. She won't even trick. Another voice, what about public opinion? She has friends, Vidish. Graham, who's going to believe her over me? I'm the one who modified the house, bought the accessible van, played the devoted husband. Everyone will think she's being ungrateful. The recording ended. Charlotte felt Diane's hand grip hers, tight, grounding. There's more, Harold said quietly. Financial records. Graham's been moving money to offshore accounts for 6 months. $1.3 million. Untouchable in the prenuptial agreement. Hidden from you. Why are you helping me? Charlotte asked. Because my sister Angela taught me that disability doesn't make you less. It makes you different. And sometimes it makes you stronger because you have to be. Harold's jaw tightened. What Graham said about you was disgusting. And it's not just morally wrong, it's a liability for our company. The board won't tolerate a CEO who discriminates against disabled people. You're going to tell the board? I already did. Emergency meeting is Monday morning, same day as your hearing. Harold met her eyes. Graham is about to lose everything. His wife, his child, his company, and he did it to himself. After Harold left, Charlotte sat in silence, processing. The recording played in her mind on repeat. The wheelchair makes her pathetic. The man who'd promised to love her, who'd modified their house, who'd held her hand through recovery. That man had called her pathetic. Diane was crying, angry tears. I never liked him. I should have said something sooner. This was the friend who says what you needed to hear years ago. The confession that validates all your doubts. At your engagement party, Diane continued, I bit my tongue so hard it bled. The way he corrected you in front of people. The way he talked about your nonprofit work like it was a cute hobby. The way he always had to be the smart one, the capable one, the one in charge. I saw it, I knew. And I didn't say anything because you looked happy. Why didn't you tell me? Because you looked happy, and I thought maybe I was wrong. Maybe he was just confident. Maybe I was being overprotective. Diane wiped her eyes. I wasn't wrong. They sat together in the kitchen, in the house that was a cage, surrounded by evidence of Graham's betrayal. But for the first time since the airport, Charlotte didn't feel alone. Her phone buzzed. Text from Vincent Marshall. Follow-up article goes live in 1 hour, this time with the video. Are you ready? Charlotte looked at Diane, at Harold's recording on her phone, at the nursery down the hall she'd prepared with such care, at her belly where her daughter kicked and moved and reminded her what she was fighting for. She texted back, publish it. At 11 a.m., Vincent's article went live. Billionaire CEO abandons disabled wife at airport. Exclusive video. The video played automatically. 3 minutes of Charlotte crawling. Graham walking. Brooke smiling. Within 1 hour, 50,000 views. Within 3 hours, 500,000 views. By evening, 3 million views. The comments flooded in. This is disability discrimination. How is this man still a CEO? Pregnant and crawling while he walks away. Where are the criminal charges? His company stock needs to tank for this. And it did. Graham's company, Hayes Technologies, lost 12% of its value in 6 hours. $900 million down to $792 million. $108 million gone because people were outraged. Charlotte's phone rang. Patricia Morrison. Have you seen the stock prices? Yes. Good. Public pressure is a weapon, and right now it's aimed at Graham. But Charlotte, be prepared. He's going to come back swinging. Men like him don't go down quietly. Let him swing. I'm done being quiet. That night, Charlotte did something she hadn't done in 2 years. She wheeled herself upstairs, used the stair lift Graham had installed, went to his bedroom. She stood at the door, looking at the space he'd claimed as his own, separate from her, above her, literally and figuratively. Then she turned around, went back downstairs, to her accessible bedroom. The one he'd built to keep her contained, but tomorrow she'd start dismantling the cage, one bar at a time. Sunday morning came with more contractions. Braxton Hicks, Charlotte told herself. Just practice. The baby wasn't coming yet, but her body knew the truth. The stress was too much. By 10 a.m., the contractions were 5 minutes apart. Diane found Charlotte in the bathroom, hands gripping the sink, breathing through the pain. We're going to the hospital, Diane said firmly. I can't. The hearing is tomorrow. If you're in active labor, there won't be a hearing. Hospital, now. The ER doctor took one look at Charlotte's charts and face and called Dr. Sullivan immediately. Dr. Sullivan arrived within 30 minutes. Check Charlotte, check the baby. Her expression grew serious. Charlotte, you're not in active labor yet, but you're close, very close. Your body is under too much stress. I know. I don't think you do. Dr. Sullivan pulled up a chair, sat at eye level. If your stress doesn't decrease in the next 24 hours, I'm admitting you. Bed rest, possibly early delivery at 36 weeks. The baby would probably be fine, but there are risks. The hearing is tomorrow. I know, and I'll be there to testify, but Charlotte, you have to survive to get to that hearing. You understand? Charlotte nodded, but her mind was spinning, racing, panic building. She couldn't fight Graham if she was on bed rest, couldn't protect her baby if she was hospitalized, couldn't prove her capability if she was falling apart. In the ER waiting room, while Diane handled insurance paperwork, Charlotte found herself alone. First time truly alone since the airport. Maybe they're right. The thought crept in. Dark, insidious. Maybe I did trap him. Maybe the accident made me desperate. Maybe I should have seen he didn't want this life, this baby, me. Her phone vibrated. But she couldn't reach it. The ER wheelchair didn't have pockets. The phone sat on the chair beside her. 3 feet away. Might as well have been 3 miles. Charlotte tried to stand, to reach it. Her legs, weak from wheelchair use, couldn't support her pregnant weight. She fell, hard, onto the hospital floor. For the second time in 2 days, Charlotte was crawling. This time in her own crisis, her own body betraying her. A nurse found her, helped her up, got her back in the wheelchair. Professional, kind. But Charlotte saw the look, the judgment, the confirmation that yes, she couldn't manage alone. This was the 3 a.m. Google searches, the panic research every woman who's been gaslit knows. Charlotte pulled out her phone, typed with shaking hands. Can stress cause premature labor? Custody rights for disabled mothers. How to fight billionaire and divorce. Am I overreacting or is this abuse? Signs of gaslighting. How to know if you're crazy or if he is. Page after page of search results. Forums, legal sites, disability advocacy groups, hundreds of stories from women who'd been exactly where she was, questioning their sanity, their capability, their worth. The validation hit like a wave. She wasn't crazy. She wasn't overreacting. She wasn't alone. Diane returned, saw Charlotte's face, the phone, the search history. Oh, honey, you're not crazy. You're being abused. But I keep thinking maybe he's right. Maybe I can't do this. Maybe I'm not capable. That's what abusers do. They make you doubt yourself. But Charlotte, look at me. Diane knelt beside the wheelchair. You survived a car accident that would have killed most people. You relearned how to dress yourself, feed yourself, live independently. You built a nonprofit that helped hundreds of disabled kids. You've prepared for this baby with more dedication than any parent I've ever seen. You are capable. He just convinced you that you weren't. Dr. Sullivan appeared. Charlotte, we need to talk about the investigator's report. What report? Patricia Morrison sent me something, email chain between Graham and his lawyer, from 6 months ago. Dr. Sullivan pulled up her tablet, read aloud. Email from Graham to his attorney. Once the baby is born, we'll have grounds. Postpartum depression combined with her disability equals incompetent mother. That's our angle for full custody and clean exit. Response from attorney, we'll need medical documentation. Can you get her doctor to note any concerns about her mental state? Graham's response, already working on it. I've been documenting every instance where she seems overwhelmed or incapable. Building the pattern now so it's established by delivery. The words hit Charlotte like physical blows. He'd been planning this before she was even pregnant. The moment the accident happened, he'd started building his exit strategy. He was never going to let me keep this baby, Charlotte whispered. No, Dr. Sullivan said gently. He wasn't. But Charlotte, this email is evidence. It proves premeditation, intent to defraud you of custody. Patricia says it might even be criminal conspiracy. Charlotte's hands moved to her belly, protective, fierce. He's not taking her. I don't care what I have to do. He's not taking my daughter. Then we fight. Dr. Sullivan's voice turned hard, and I'm writing a very detailed letter to the court about how your physical and mental stress is directly caused by your husband's systematic abuse, not by your disability, not by your capability to parent, by his cruelty. The ER discharged Charlotte with instructions to rest, to lower stress, to take care of herself and the baby. Impossible instructions. But Charlotte tried. Back at the house, Diane made Charlotte lie down, propped pillows around her, put on calming music, brought herbal tea that tasted like grass but was supposed to help. Charlotte's phone buzzed. Patricia Morrison. I have the investigator's full report. Charlotte, sit down. I'm already lying down. Good, because this is comprehensive. Papers rustled on Patricia's end. The affair started 2 years ago, 6 months after your accident. Not recently, 2 years. 2 years, Charlotte had suspected, but having confirmation hurt worse than she expected. Offshore accounts Graham set up, $15 million, hidden from you, beyond the prenuptial agreement protection. How did he hide $15 million? Shell corporations, foreign banks, untraceable unless you know where to look. Our investigator knows where to look. What else? Email chain between Graham and Brooke, planning the Paris trip, planning the airport incident. Charlotte, they discussed taking your wheelchair specifically. It was calculated. They talked about how humiliating it would be, how it would prove your dependence. Charlotte closed her eyes. The betrayal was bottomless. One more thing. Recorded conversation between Graham and Harold Pemberton. Graham said, and I quote, "The accident was the best thing that happened to our marriage. No-fault divorce is impossible now, but incompetence because of disability, that's the angle. Leaving feels impossible. The thought crystallized, but staying feels worse. Staying feels like dying." The hearing is tomorrow, Patricia continued. Graham just filed an emergency motion. He's claiming you're mentally unstable based on your ER visit today, physically incapable based on you falling in the ER, dangerous to the unborn child based on your elevated stress levels. He's using everything against me. Yes, but here's what he doesn't know. Harold Pemberton is testifying for us. Vincent Marshall has more video footage from the airport we haven't released yet. Dr. Sullivan has written a declaration that would make a saint weep, and the internet is on your side. 3 million people watched that video and recognized abuse when they saw it. Will it be enough? I don't know. But we're going to make Graham regret every single choice he made, starting tomorrow. That night, Charlotte couldn't sleep. Again. She lay in bed, feeling her daughter move inside her. Strong kicks, persistent, like she was trying to communicate. I'm going to protect you, Charlotte promised silently. Whatever it takes, whoever I have to become. You're not growing up thinking your mother was too weak to fight. At 2 a.m., her phone lit up. Email from Vincent Marshall. More footage compiled, 5 different angles of the airport incident, multiple witnesses willing to testify, one security guard who heard Brooke tell Graham she'll never make the flight crawling. This was premeditated assault. Let me know if you want me to release the extended footage before the hearing. Charlotte stared at the phone. The extended footage would destroy Graham publicly. Would make tomorrow's hearing almost irrelevant because public opinion would be so firmly against him. But it would also make her daughter's father a public villain. Would tie her child to this scandal forever. She forwarded the email to Patricia. No message, just letting her lawyer make the strategic call. Within 5 minutes, Patricia responded, "Hold the footage. Use it as leverage if the hearing goes badly. But if we can win clean, we keep that nuclear option in reserve." At 6 a.m., Charlotte gave up on sleep. Showered, dressed carefully, black maternity dress, professional, dignified, hair pulled back, minimal makeup. She looked at herself in the mirror, saw a woman she barely recognized. 8 months pregnant, dark circles under her eyes, but her jaw was set, her spine straight. She was ready. Diane arrived at 7, Patricia at 7:30. They drove to the courthouse together. Graham's car was already there. Black SUV, tinted windows, Brooke in the passenger seat. He'd brought her to family court, to a custody hearing about their unborn child. He'd brought his mistress. The optics were devastating. Inside the courthouse, the hallway filled with people. Reporters, cameras, questions shouted from all sides. Charlotte kept her head up, didn't answer, just wheeled herself toward the courtroom. Graham stood by the entrance, saw her. Their eyes met. He looked tired, angry, but not guilty, not ashamed, just annoyed that she wasn't disappearing quietly like he'd planned. "Charlotte," he stepped toward her. Patricia moved between them. "Mr. Hayes, you were instructed not to contact my client. This is ridiculous. We should be handling this privately. You forfeited private when you abandoned her at an airport." Graham's jaw tightened. "I'm trying to do what's best for our child." "Then you should have thought of that before you left your pregnant wife crawling on the ground." Patricia's voice carried. Reporters heard. Cameras captured. Graham realized his mistake. Turned. Walked into the courtroom. Charlotte followed. Into the arena where her entire future would be decided. The courtroom smelled like old wood and fear. Charlotte positioned her wheelchair at the plaintiff's table. Patricia on her left, Diane in the gallery behind her. Dr. Sullivan waiting to testify. Across the aisle, Graham sat with the legal team. 3 lawyers, men, all expensive suits. Brooke sat in the gallery, bold, shameless. The bailiff called the room to order. Judge Patricia Hawthorne entered, 60-something. Silver hair in a tight bun, black robe, no-nonsense expression. She looked at the assembled parties with something close to disdain. "Let me be very clear from the outset," Judge Hawthorne said. "I've read the emergency motion. I've reviewed the video evidence that's been circulating online. I've seen the medical records, and I'm not impressed with the petitioner's arguments." Graham's lawyers exchanged glances, not the opening they had expected. "However," Judge Hawthorne continued, "this is a court of law. We will hear both sides. Mr. Bradley, present your case." Graham's lead attorney stood, James Bradley, 60 years old, Silver Fox, known for destroying people on the stand. "Your Honor, we're here today because we're concerned about the welfare of an unborn child. Mrs. Hayes' recent behavior demonstrates significant instability and incapacity to care for an infant." "What behavior specifically?" Judge Hawthorne asked. "Multiple emergency room visits, elevated blood pressure, indicating inability to manage stress. Physical incidents, including falling in a hospital. Emotional outbursts, including verbal harassment of Mr. Hayes' family members." "I see. And what was happening in Mrs. Hayes's life during these incidents? Bradley hesitated. There were marital difficulties. Marital difficulties. Interesting euphemism. Continue. Your Honor, Mrs. Hayes has a significant disability. She uses a wheelchair. While we sympathize with her condition, the reality is that caring for a newborn requires physical capability she doesn't possess. Counselor. Judge Hawthorne's voice dropped 20 degrees. I'd choose your next words very carefully. This is a courtroom, not a discrimination seminar. You're about to fail. Bradley backpedaled. I simply mean that Mrs. Hayes requires assistance with daily tasks. The medical trust fund established in their prenuptial agreement acknowledges her need for ongoing support, or acknowledges Mr. Hayes' financial obligation to his disabled spouse. Two very different interpretations. Call your first witness. Graham took the stand, swore to tell the truth. Charlotte almost laughed. The irony was suffocating. Bradley walked him through carefully crafted questions. Yes, he loved his wife. Yes, he was concerned about the baby's safety. Yes, he'd tried to get Charlotte help, but she'd refused. Lie, lie, lie. Mr. Hayes, tell the court about the incident at the airport. Charlotte insisted on coming to see me off. I told her it wasn't necessary, but she wanted to come. My assistant, Brooke Sutton, was attempting to help Charlotte navigate the crowded terminal when Charlotte became agitated. She created a scene. I had to board my flight for a critical business meeting. When I returned, I found Charlotte had hired an attorney and begun this media campaign against me. Charlotte's nails dug into her palms. The gaslighting was breathtaking. Your witness? Bradley said to Patricia. Patricia stood, smoothed her suit jacket, walked toward Graham like a predator approaching prey. Mr. Hayes, when did you book your Paris trip? I don't recall exactly. Let me refresh your memory. Patricia pulled up a document on the courtroom screen. Booking confirmation from 8 months ago, the same week your wife told you she was pregnant. Interesting timing, wouldn't you say? I booked many trips for business. 2 tickets, adjoining rooms for you and your assistant. Is it standard practice to book adjoining rooms with your assistant? For security purposes, yes. I see. And the jewelry purchases? Another document appeared. Diamond bracelet, sapphire earrings, pearl necklace, all purchased in the past 6 months. Were those for your wife? Graham's lawyer objected. Judge Hawthorne overruled. Answer the question, Mr. Hayes. Those were business gifts. For whom? Various clients. All female clients? Some. Can you name one? Silence. Patricia smiled. Mr. Hayes, how much money have you moved from joint accounts in the past 6 months? I manage our finances, various transactions for various purposes. $1.3 million to offshore accounts, hidden from your wife, while your 8 months pregnant, disabled wife lived on a household allowance you controlled. Those were for business purposes? The courtroom murmured. Judge Hawthorne silenced it with a look. I was protecting assets. From your wife? From potential creditors. What creditors? Your company is worth $900 million, or it was before the stock dropped this week. Graham's face reddened. One more question, Mr. Hayes. You claim you had to board your flight for a critical business meeting. What was the nature of that meeting? Confidential client negotiations? Really? Because I have your Paris itinerary, dinner reservations at Le Jules Verne, spa appointments, a private Seine River cruise, no meeting scheduled, just a romantic week in Paris, with your assistant, while your wife was abandoned at an airport. That's taken out of context. What context makes abandoning your disabled pregnant wife acceptable, Mr. Hayes? Objection, Bradley shot up. Argumentative. Sustained, Judge Hawthorne said, but she was watching Graham with open contempt. Patricia returned to her seat. No further questions. Judge Hawthorne looked at Graham, stepped down, then she called Charlotte. Charlotte wheeled herself to the witness stand. The bailiff helped her position the wheelchair. Every eye in the courtroom watched, evaluating, judging, deciding if she was capable. Patricia approached, gentle, supportive. Charlotte, can you care for this child? Yes. Despite your disability? My disability taught me resilience, adaptation, problem solving. I've spent 8 months preparing for motherhood, modified nursery, support system, physical therapy to strengthen my core for lifting, carrying, nursing. I've done everything possible to be ready. Tell us about your preparations. Charlotte described the accessible nursery, the physical therapy, the parenting classes designed for disabled parents, the support network she'd built, the detailed care plans she'd created. What about Mr. Hayes? How has he prepared? He's done everything possible to leave. The courtroom reacted. Judge Hawthorne silenced them again. Patricia showed photos of the nursery, videos of Charlotte's physical therapy, documentation of her preparation. No further questions. Bradley approached. Aggressive, confrontational. Mrs. Hayes, isn't it true you've been unstable? Multiple emergency room visits in the past week? Because of stress your client caused. You can't handle stress. How will you handle a crying newborn at 3 a.m.? I handled crawling across an airport at 8 months pregnant while my husband walked away with his mistress. I think I can handle diapers. The courtroom erupted. Judge Hawthorne gavelled it silent. Bradley tried a different approach. You admit you need help, the modified house, the accessible van, the medical trust. You can't function independently. I can function perfectly well. My husband chose to modify our house, chose to control my finances, chose to create dependence where none needed to exist. Are you claiming Mr. Hayes restricted you? I'm saying he built a beautiful cage and called it love. The truth of it hung in the air. Undeniable. Bradley looked at Judge Hawthorne. Permission to play video evidence? Proceed, Ati. The airport video played on the courtroom screen. 3 minutes. Charlotte on the ground, Graham walking away, Brooke with the wheelchair. When it ended, the courtroom aired in stunned silence. Judge Hawthorne spoke. Her voice was ice. Mr. Bradley, that's your evidence of Miss Hayes's instability? Video of her being abandoned and humiliated? It shows her inability to manage in public spaces without assistance. It shows your client's cruelty. Call your next witness or rest your case. Bradley called Brooke Sutton. Brooke took the stand, perfectly composed. She swore to tell the truth. More irony. Bradley asked softball questions. How long had she worked for Graham? 3 years. What was her relationship with the Hayes family? Professional. Why did she take Charlotte's wheelchair at the airport? Charlotte was struggling with the crowds. I thought I was helping by clearing a path to the gate. When I realized she wasn't behind us, I tried to go back, but Graham said we needed to board. He said Charlotte would be fine, that she was independent and capable. The lie was smooth, practiced. Patricia's cross-examination was surgical. Ms. Sutton, are you having an affair with Graham Hayes? Objection. Bradley was on his feet. Overruled. Answer the question. No, Brooke said. You're under oath, Miss Sutton. I'm aware. So when you posted photos from Paris this weekend wearing sapphire earrings that Graham purchased, that was coincidence? Brooke's composure cracked. I don't know what you're talking about. Patricia showed the Instagram posts on the courtroom screen. Brooke in Paris, wearing the earrings, standing in front of the Eiffel Tower. And this? Patricia showed another photo. Is that Charlotte's custom wheelchair in the background of this hotel room photo? The courtroom exploded. Judge Hawthorne didn't even try to silence it. Brooke's face went white. I can explain. Please do. We brought the wheelchair to Paris in case Charlotte needed it, as a courtesy. A courtesy after you stole it and left her crawling across an airport. I didn't steal it. I was helping. By taking it to Paris? How exactly does that help Mrs. Hayes? Brooke had no answer. One more question, Mrs. Sutton. Did you and Mr. Hayes discuss taking Charlotte's wheelchair before arriving at the airport? No. You're committing perjury, Miss Sutton. I have text messages between you and Mr. Hayes discussing exactly that. Would you like to revise your answer? Brooke looked at Graham, at his lawyers, at the judge, realized she was trapped. I want an attorney. Well, I'm sure you do, Patricia said. No further questions. Judge Hawthorne called recess, 2 hours, to review evidence and testimony. Charlotte wheeled herself to the courthouse bathroom. Diane followed. You did amazing, Diane said. I'm having contractions, 5 minutes apart. What? Don't tell anyone. We have to finish this first. Charlotte, you could go into labor right now. Then I go into labor. But I'm not giving Graham ammunition. See? She can't even handle court without a medical emergency. We finish this. This was the strength you never knew you had, until you had no choice. Charlotte's body was breaking down, but her will was diamond hard. They returned to the courtroom. Graham wouldn't meet her eyes. Judge Hawthorne took the bench. Her expression was carved from ice. I've reviewed the evidence. Testimony, video footage. Mr. Hayes, I find your petition for emergency custody not just denied, but offensive. Graham started to stand. Your Honor. Sit down. I'm not finished. He sat. This court exists to protect children, not to weaponize them against mothers you've decided to discard. Mrs. Hayes has demonstrated capability, preparation, and commitment to this child. You, Mr. Hayes, have demonstrated calculation, cruelty, and contempt, not just for your wife, for this court, for basic human decency. Judge Hawthorne looked at Brooke. You brought your mistress to a custody hearing about your unborn child. Did you think that helped your case? The courtroom held its breath. Full custody to Mrs. Hayes, supervised visitation for Mr. Hayes pending full divorce proceedings, immediate financial support reinstated to Mrs. Hayes, including source of full access to medical trust and marital assets. All restrictions on Mrs. Hayes' finances are dissolved. Mr. Hayes will maintain separate residence pending divorce. And Mr. Hayes, I'm recommending the State Bar investigate whether your prenuptial agreement violated disability discrimination laws. This court is further recommending criminal investigation into possible conspiracy to defraud and disability-based abuse. The gavel fell. Graham's world ended in one sharp crack of wood on wood. His lawyers swarmed him. Urgent whispers. Brooke sat frozen, realizing she'd destroyed her career for a man who just lost everything. Charlotte sat in her wheelchair, hands folded in her lap, contractions building, but she was calm, certain she'd won. Charlotte made it to the courthouse steps before her water broke. Cameras everywhere, reporters shouting questions, Diane trying to clear a path, then warm liquid running down her legs. Unmistakable. Hospital, Charlotte gasped. Now! Patricia grabbed one side of the wheelchair. Diane grabbed the other. They moved fast. Through the crowd, into Patricia's car. Don't tell the press, Charlotte said through a contraction. Not yet. Charlotte, everyone saw. Let them speculate. Graham doesn't get to know until after she's born. Diane drove like she was in an action movie. Patricia called ahead to the hospital. Dr. Sullivan was already there. Labor happened fast, too fast, like Charlotte's body had been holding back until the hearing was over and now couldn't wait another second. Contractions 3 minutes apart, then 2, then constant. The hospital room. Bright lights, monitors beeping. Dr. Sullivan calm and capable. You're at 7 centimeters, Dr. Sullivan said. This baby is coming today. Diane held Charlotte's hand. Patricia stayed in the waiting room handling media and legal matters. Graham tried to call 27 times. Charlotte's phone buzzed and buzzed on the bedside table. She ignored it. Should we tell him? Diane asked. No, but Charlotte's voice was steady between contractions. He doesn't get to be here. He gave up that right. Another contraction. Stronger. Charlotte breathed through it. This isn't how I imagined this. The thought arrived clear. No husband holding my hand. No family photos. No traditional happy ending. But I have Diane, Shramea, Patricia, Dr. Sullivan, Vincent recording history for the right reasons. I have truth on my side. I have in my body, disabled and powerful, bringing life into the world on my terms. Push, Dr. Sullivan instructed. Charlotte pushed. Her core strength, built over 8 months of physical therapy, engaged. Pushed again and again. Diane was crying. You're doing amazing. So amazing. Another push. The pain was enormous, all-consuming. But Charlotte had survived a car accident, survived 3 years of recovery, survived Graham's betrayal and abandonment. She could survive this. One final push, then crying. Not hers, the baby's. She's here, Dr. Sullivan said. She's perfect. They placed her on Charlotte's chest, skin to skin. The wheelchair positioned perfectly beside the bed. Nurse helping support the baby. 7 pounds, 3 ounces. Full head of dark hair. Charlotte's eyes. Grams nowhere. She's perfect, Charlotte whispered. You both are, Diane said through tears. The baby girl stopped crying. Looked up at Charlotte with unfocused newborn eyes. Seemed to recognize her mother's voice. I deserve someone who sees my strength, not my limitations. The thought came clear and true. And so does she. Charlotte looked at her daughter, this tiny human who would never know a mother who doubted herself, who would grow up watching her mother advocate and fight and refuse to be diminished. Emma, Charlotte said. Her name is Emma. What does it mean? Diane had asked. Whole. Complete. Charlotte touched Emma's tiny hand. We're both already whole. We always were. The relief of finally telling the truth, the weight lifting, the future opening. Charlotte had spent so long trying to be enough for Graham, trying to compensate for her disability, trying to prove her worth. But she'd always been whole. The wheelchair didn't change that. The accident didn't change that. Graham's cruelty didn't change that. She was whole, and Emma would always know it. Patricia appeared in the doorway. How are we? Perfect, Charlotte said. We're perfect. Good, because Graham is losing his mind. 27 calls, 16 texts, 3 emails, all demanding to know if the baby is born, all threatening legal action if you don't respond immediately. Let him threaten. He can meet his daughter when the court says he can, not before. Patricia smiled, cold and satisfied. You've changed. I had to. That afternoon, while Charlotte and Emma rested, the world kept spinning. Vincent Marshall's article, Billionaire CEO's Wife Gives Birth Hours After Custody Victory. The article was kind, focused on Charlotte's strength, Emma's healthy arrival, the court's decision. It didn't name Emma specifically, didn't share photos, protected the baby's privacy while celebrating the victory. Comments poured in. She's a warrior. That baby has the strongest mother ever. Graham Hayes should be ashamed. How do we support Charlotte and Emma? By evening, a GoFundMe appeared, not started by Charlotte or anyone she knew, just strangers who wanted to help. It raised $50,000 in 6 hours, $100,000 by midnight, all going to Charlotte and Emma. More than Graham had offered in his settlement. Graham's company held an emergency board meeting. Harold Pemberton presented evidence of Graham's disability discrimination, financial impropriety, and reputational damage to the company. The board voted unanimous. Graham Hayes was out as CEO effective immediately. $900 million company. Built over 15 years. Gone in one vote. Brooke was fired the same day. No severance, no recommendation. Her name would forever be tied to the woman who stole a wheelchair from a pregnant, disabled woman. Evelyn tried to visit the hospital. Security turned her away. Charlotte had added her to the no-visitor list. Vincent sent Charlotte a message. Preliminary discussions about Pulitzer nomination. Your story matters. Thank you for trusting me to tell it. But the best moment came 3 days later. Charlotte was home, Emma sleeping in the accessible crib, Diane helping with recovery. A knock at the door, Patricia with final divorce papers. He signed everything, full custody to you, medical trust transferred entirely to your control, fair division of marital assets, $3.2 million, plus the house, plus your modified van, plus an education trust for Emma, $15 million. He keeps the rest, but he'll never touch you or Emma financially again. He agreed to all that? The criminal investigation helped. Conspiracy to defraud, disability discrimination, possible assault charges for the airport incident. His lawyers advised complete capitulation. Charlotte signed the papers, her hand steady, certain. Her phone buzzed. Email from Vincent Marshall. Subject, you should see this. A link to a news article. Hayes Technologies reports 32% stock drop following CEO scandal. Company considering rebranding. Graham's empire was crumbling, not because Charlotte destroyed it, because he'd destroyed himself. Every choice, every cruelty, Every calculation had led here. To his pregnant wife giving birth without him, his daughter named without his input, his company voting him out, his reputation in ruins, all because he'd seen Charlotte's wheelchair and decided she was disposable. He was wrong. Charlotte looked at Emma, sleeping peacefully, unaware of the battle that had been fought for her, unaware of how close she'd come to growing up without her mother. But she would grow up with Charlotte. In the house that was no longer a cage, with unlimited access to resources, with a mother who would teach her that strength comes in many forms. And someday when Emma was old enough, Charlotte would tell her the story about the airport, the hearing, the fight for both of their futures. And Emma would understand that her mother had been strong enough to fight, strong enough to win, strong enough to redefine what family looked like. Graham texted one final time, "I want to see my daughter." Charlotte responded, "Through the court, with supervision, on my terms, never alone. You gave up the right to more when you walked away." She blocked his number. The cage was finally gone. 3 months later, Charlotte sat in the accessible playground she'd helped design. Emma in an adaptive carrier against her chest. 7 pounds had become 12 pounds of chubby cheeks and curious eyes. The playground was in the park near her house, the house that was no longer Graham's, just hers and Emma's. She'd redecorated, removed everything that reminded her of him. The master bedroom upstairs became her office. She used the stair lift freely now, no longer confined to the first floor. The accessible bedroom became a guest room for Diane, for visiting friends, for family she chose, not family she was assigned. Emma's nursery stayed the same. Charlotte had built it with love and preparation. It deserved to remain exactly as designed. Vincent Marshall approached across the playground. He'd become a friend, not romantic, just someone who'd witnessed her worst moment and chosen to help rather than exploit. "How's she doing?" Vincent asked, smiling at Emma. "Perfect. Growing fast." She smiled yesterday, a real smile, not gas. "And you?" "Better, different, but better." Vincent sat on the accessible bench. "I got the Pulitzer nomination for the series about disability discrimination and domestic abuse. But Charlotte, I couldn't have done it without you trusting me. You gave me a choice. Most people didn't. You deserved a choice." They sat in comfortable silence, watching children play, Emma watching everything with wide eyes. Charlotte's nonprofit had reopened, but different now. Worthy, disability, motherhood, truth. Supporting disabled mothers, advocating for custody rights, providing resources for women leaving abusive situations. The GoFundMe had grown to $300,000, all going to the nonprofit, all helping women like Charlotte. She'd hired 3 employees, all disabled mothers, all survivors, all warriors. Patricia Morrison served on the board, pro bono legal services for any woman who needed help. Dr. Sullivan consulted on medical advocacy, making sure disabled mothers receive proper prenatal care without discrimination. Even Harold Pemberton contributed. His sister Angela had reached out, shared her story, became Charlotte's friend and mentor. The community grew, slowly, steadily. Graham had visitation rights, supervised, 2 hours every Sunday, at a neutral location with a court-appointed supervisor. He showed up twice, then stopped coming. Too embarrassed, too angry, too unwilling to face what he'd lost. Emma would grow up barely knowing him. That was his choice, his loss. And Evelyn had tried to reconcile. Charlotte declined. Some bridges burned for good reason. Brooke disappeared. No job, no references. Last Charlotte heard, she'd moved to another state. Started over. Maybe learned something, maybe not. Charlotte's story spread, not just locally, nationally. Interviews, podcasts, speaking engagements. She told it honestly. The airport, the crawling, the betrayal, the fight, the victory, the ongoing recovery. Not because she wanted fame, because other women needed to know they weren't alone. Every week, messages arrived, emails, letters, social media DMs. "I'm disabled and pregnant, and my husband is making me feel incapable. I'm in a wheelchair, and my family says I can't parent. I'm being gaslit about my own experiences with my disability. Your story gave me courage to leave. Your story gave me courage to fight. Your story gave me courage to believe I deserve better. Each message reminded Charlotte why she'd gone public, why she'd trusted Vincent, why she'd fought in court instead of signing Graham's papers. A woman approached the playground, Charlotte's age, wheelchair user, pregnant, nervous expression. "Excuse me, are you Charlotte Hayes?" Charlotte adjusted Emma's carrier. "I am." "I saw your speech, the one on the courthouse steps. I'm 7 months pregnant. Everyone's telling me I can't do this. My partner, my family, even my doctor hinted that maybe I should consider adoption." Charlotte's heart ached. She remembered that fear, that doubt, that desperation. "They're wrong," Charlotte said firmly. "You can do this. You will do this. And you're not alone." The woman's eyes filled with tears. "Really?" "Really. What's your name?" "Sarah." "Sarah, come sit. Let me tell you about my nonprofit and about the disabled mothers I know who are raising amazing kids, and about adaptive parenting equipment, and about doctors who actually understand disability and pregnancy, and about how you're going to be a fantastic mother because you already love this baby enough to fight for them." Sarah sat. They talked for an hour. By the end, Sarah had Charlotte's number, the nonprofit's information, contact info for Patricia Morrison, Dr. Sullivan's name, resources, support, hope. When Sarah left, she was smiling, standing straight at her, ready to fight. Diane appeared with coffee. "Making converts?" "Helping a friend." "You've changed so much since the airport." "Had to. Couldn't survive being who I was before." "Who were you before?" Charlotte thought about it. Someone who apologized for existing. Someone who made herself small. Someone who believed her disability made her less. And now, someone who knows better. Emma stirred, made her hungry sounds. Charlotte found a shaded bench, nursed Emma. The carrier made it easy, accessible. She'd learned so much about adaptive parenting in 3 months. And she'd learned the most important thing. Love wasn't about being perfect. It was about being present, being honest, being willing to adapt. Graham had never been willing to adapt. He'd wanted Charlotte to fit his life, his vision, his version of what a wife should be. When she couldn't, he'd decided she was broken. But she'd never been broken. Just different, and different was powerful when you stopped apologizing for it. Vincent's phone buzzed. He checked it, smiled. "The criminal case against Graham. They're moving forward. Conspiracy to defraud. Disability-based harassment. The DA thinks they have enough for conviction." "Good. You don't want revenge?" "I want justice. There's a difference." Charlotte looked at Emma. "Revenge would be making him suffer the way he made me suffer. Justice is making sure he can't do this to anyone else." "You're remarkable, you know that?" "I'm surviving. That's all any of us do." But it was more than surviving now. Charlotte was thriving. She'd been given Emma, given a second chance at defining herself, given a community that supported instead of diminished. The playground filled with families, children laughing, parents watching. Normal afternoon chaos. A little boy approached Charlotte, maybe 4 years old, pointed at her wheelchair. "Why do you have that?" His mother rushed over. "Tyler, we don't ask those questions." "It's okay," Charlotte said. "Tyler, I use a wheelchair because my legs don't work the same as yours. But my arms are super strong and I can still do everything I want. I just do it differently." "Can you play?" "I can push you on the swings." "Want to try?" Tyler's face lit up. His mother looked uncertain. "It's fine," Charlotte assured her. "I've got a 3-month-old. I'm practiced at holding wriggling things." She wheeled to the accessible swing set, Emma secure in her carrier. Tyler climbed into the swing. Charlotte pushed. Her upper body strength, built over years of wheelchair use, made it easy. Tyler giggled. His mother watched, probably seeing disability in a new light, probably thinking differently about capability. That was how change happened. One interaction, one conversation, one person at a time. The sun started to set, golden light across the playground. Emma fell asleep against Charlotte's chest. Warm weight, steady breathing, perfect trust. Charlotte's phone buzzed. Email from the nonprofit. Another woman reaching out. Another story of discrimination and abuse. Another request for help. Charlotte forwarded it to her team. They'd handle intake, set up resources, connect her with support. Because Charlotte couldn't save everyone, but she could build something that tried. She wheeled home as twilight fell, the accessible house, the ramps Graham had installed to control her, the modifications meant to cage her, all transformed into tools for independence. Inside, Charlotte put Emma to bed, rocked her gently, sang softly. "You're going to grow up strong," Charlotte whispered. "Strong and certain and never apologizing for existing. You're going to see your mother advocate and fight and refuse to be small. And you're going to know that you can do the same." Emma slept, peaceful, safe, loved. Charlotte sat in her living room, the house quiet. No Graham, no toxic marriage, no pretending, just truth, just peace, just to the future stretching ahead. Her phone dinged. Message from Patricia. "Divorce final today, all papers processed. You are officially free." Free. Charlotte looked at Emma's baby monitor, at the nursery she'd built, at the life she'd fought for. "Graham took my wheelchair." The thought came clear and final. "Tried to take my dignity, my baby, my future." He failed, because the strength was mine all along. The wheelchair wasn't what made me weak. His cruelty was, and I'm not carrying his weight anymore. She was whole. Emma was safe. The future was theirs, and that was enough. 6 months after the courthouse victory, Charlotte stood at a podium, conference room in a hotel downtown, 200 people in the audience, all disabled parents or advocates, all gathered for the first Worthy conference. Emma, now 9 months old, sat with Diane in the front row, babbling, playing with her toes, completely unaware her mother was about to give the opening keynote speech. Charlotte's hands shook slightly, not from fear, from the weight of what this moment meant. 6 months ago, Charlotte began, I was crawling across an airport floor while my husband walked away. Today I'm standing here because I learned something important. Strength doesn't look the way we're taught to expect. Sometimes strength is asking for help. Sometimes it's refusing to disappear quietly. Sometimes it's choosing to tell the truth, even when the truth destroys your life so you can build a better one. The audience listened, silent, attentive. Charlotte told her story, not all of it, the highlights, the airport, the prenup, the hearing, the victory, Emma's birth. But more importantly, she told them what came after. I thought winning in court would fix everything. It didn't. I still had nightmares about the airport. I still doubted myself. I still heard Graham's voice telling me I was incapable. Recovery isn't linear. Healing isn't instant, but it's possible. She talked about therapy, about medication for anxiety, about the support group she joined for domestic abuse survivors, about learning to trust again. And I want to talk about something we don't discuss enough. Disability makes you vulnerable to certain types of abuse. Financial control, physical isolation, gaslighting about your own capabilities, weaponizing your access needs against you. My husband used my wheelchair to humiliate me, but he'd been using my disability to control me for years before that. Subtle, insidious, hidden under helping and concern. Nods throughout the audience. Recognition, validation. The Worthy nonprofit exists because I needed it and it didn't exist yet. We provide legal assistance, medical advocacy, parenting resources, but most importantly, we provide community. Because the loneliest thing about disability and abuse is feeling like you're the only one. You're not. None of us are alone about. She introduced the staff, 3 disabled mothers, each with their own story, each a survivor, each thriving. Then she introduced Dr. Sullivan, Patricia Morrison, Harold Pemberton's sister Angela, Vincent Marshall. These people saved my life, not by rescuing me, but by giving me tools to rescue myself. That's what Worthy does. We give you tools. You save yourself. The conference went for 3 days, workshops on adaptive parenting, legal rights, medical advocacy, self-defense, financial planning, community building. Emma attended everything, strapped to Charlotte's chest or playing in the accessible childcare room. Proof that disabled mothers could parent and advocate and lead simultaneously. On the final day, Charlotte held a workshop called Redefining Family. 30 people attended, all disabled, all parents or hoping to become parents, all navigating family rejection or complicated relationships. My mother-in-law told me my pregnancy was a trap, Charlotte shared. My husband's family built a narrative where I was the villain, the disabled woman who trapped their poor son. That narrative was easier for them than admitting their son was cruel. A woman in the audience raised her hand. How did you handle it? I stopped trying to change their minds. I built new family. Diane became my sister. Patricia became my fierce protector. Angela became my mentor. Vincent became my chronicler. Emma's family isn't defined by blood. It's defined by who shows up, who loves her, who treats her mother with respect. Do you ever forgive them? Forgiveness isn't mandatory. Some things are unforgivable, but I don't carry hate either. I'm just indifferent. They don't exist in my world anymore. That's not hate. That's boundary enforcement. After the workshop, a young woman approached, early 20s, wheelchair user, not pregnant but planning to be. Your story terrified me, she said honestly. Good. Good. My story should terrify you. It should make you cautious. It should make you set firm boundaries. It should make you recognize red flags. But it shouldn't stop you from loving or having children if you want them. It should just make you smarter about who you choose as your partner. How do I choose better? Charlotte thought about Graham. About the red flags she'd ignored, the ways he'd tested boundaries slowly. Watch how they treat service workers, how they react when you need accessibility accommodations, how they talk about other disabled people, whether they listen when you explain your experiences, whether they believe you about your own body, whether they see your disability as tragedy or just fact, whether they're willing to adapt or expect you to do all the adapting. And if they fail those tests, walk away, no matter how charming they are, no matter how much you love them. Walk away. You deserve someone who sees your strength, not your limitations. The woman nodded, left with information packets and hope. That evening, Charlotte returned home. Emma was exhausted from 3 days of conference chaos. She fell asleep in Charlotte's arms before they even made it to the nursery. Charlotte sat in the rocking chair, holding her daughter, feeling the solid weight of her, the trust, the love. Her phone buzzed. Message from Graham's lawyer. Mr. Hayes is requesting increased visitation. He's completed court-mandated therapy and parenting classes. He'd like to discuss a revised custody arrangement. Charlotte stared at the message. Graham had shown up for exactly 6 supervised visits in 6 months. He'd completed therapy because the court required it, not because he'd changed. She forwarded the message to Patricia. Patricia responded within minutes. Deny his supervised visits are sufficient. He can petition the court if he wants more, but we'll fight it. Emma doesn't know him. Increasing visitation now would be disruptive to her attachment in development. Charlotte agreed, sent the response. Graham texted directly, breaking the court order about contact. I'm her father. I deserve to know my daughter. Charlotte didn't respond, just screenshot the text, sent it to Patricia, more evidence of boundary violations. He texted again, you're being vindictive, using Emma to punish me. Delete, screenshot, send to Patricia. I've changed. Therapy helped me understand what I did wrong. Give me a chance. Delete, screenshot, send to Patricia. After the 4th text, Charlotte blocked his number. Again. He'd find a new number. He always did. But she'd block that too, because Emma didn't need a father who showed up out of guilt or legal obligation. Emma needed consistency, stability, love that didn't come with conditions. The next morning, Charlotte took Emma to the park. Their park. The accessible playground Charlotte had helped design. A familiar face was there. Sarah, the pregnant woman from 6 months ago. No longer pregnant, holding a 3-month-old baby boy. Charlotte, Sarah wheeled over, excited, glowing. Look, this is Marcus. He's perfect. Charlotte admired the baby, healthy, alert, loved. How's it going? Charlotte asked. Hard, amazing, exhausting, perfect. Everything you said it would be. My partner left when Marcus was 1 month old, said it was too hard, that he couldn't handle the stress. I'm sorry. Don't be. He was garbage. You taught me that partners who can't adapt aren't worth keeping. Marcus and I are better off. You're at the park alone. You're managing. Because of the equipment list you gave me, the resources, the community, I joined the Worthy Support Group, met other disabled mothers. They helped me figure out adaptive carries and accessible cribs and how to handle doctors who question my capability. You built something that saves lives, Charlotte. It was the wisdom moment. Charlotte meeting with new mother at park, offering the truth earned through survival, watching her words transform into hope for someone else. You're doing the hard work, Charlotte said. I just provided a map. Your map saved me. They sat together, two disabled mothers, two babies, watching other children play, existing in their strength without apology. Emma pulled Charlotte's hair. Marcus grabbed Sarah's finger. Babies doing baby things, completely unconcerned with their mother's disabilities. Because to them, this was just normal, just family, just love. Do you ever regret going public? Sarah asked. With your story, the video, everything? Charlotte thought about it. The scrutiny, the judgment, the comments from strangers, the loss of privacy, the permanent connection to trauma. No, she said finally, because women like you needed to hear it, and I needed to say it. Keeping silent would have destroyed me. Graham hates you for it. Graham hates me for existing past his convenience. The video just made it public. Emma started fussing. Hungry. Charlotte found a shaded bench, nursed Emma. The adaptive carrier made it seamless. Sarah watched. I'm still figuring out nursing in the wheelchair. Want tips? They talked. Practical advice, positioning, support, adaptive equipment. The kind of conversation that seemed mundane but was revolutionary. Disabled mothers helping each other, building community, refusing to be isolated. Vincent appeared with his camera. Sorry to interrupt, working on a follow-up piece. 6 months later, where are you now? Can I get some shots of you two? Charlotte and Sarah agreed. Vincent photographed them, not posed, just real. Two mothers with their babies, laughing, talking, existing. The photos would go viral. Again. But this time the narrative was different. Not tragedy, not victimhood, just strength, just community, just women refusing to be diminished. That afternoon, Patricia called with news. Graham's company settled a class action lawsuit. Former employees claiming disability discrimination. They found a pattern. 6 employees fired or forced out after becoming disabled. Company paying $8 million in settlements. Graham's legacy is officially destroyed. Good. The criminal case proceeds to trial next month. He's likely facing 3 years minimum for conspiracy and fraud charges. Will he go to prison? Maybe, probably probation and fines, but his reputation is gone. His company is gone. His marriage is gone. His daughter doesn't know him. He destroyed his own life, trying to destroy yours. Justice, not revenge, just consequences for calculated cruelty. Charlotte felt nothing, not satisfaction, not anger, just indifference. Graham had become irrelevant to her story. That evening, Charlotte gave Emma a bath. The accessible bathroom made it easy. She'd learned every adaptation, every trick, every way to make parenting work with her body. Emma splashed, giggled, grabbed Charlotte's hands, completely secure in her mother's strength. You're going to grow up different, Charlotte told her. Your mother is disabled. Some people will pity you, some will judge me, but you're going to learn that different isn't less. You're going to learn that strength looks many ways. You're going to learn that love adapts. Emma grabbed Charlotte's nose, completely unconcerned with the profound moment. Charlotte laughed, put Emma to bed, read her a story, sang her to sleep, then sat in her living room, the house that was finally just hers. No Graham, no toxic memories, just home. Her laptop open. Working on a grant proposal for Worthy, they needed more funding, more staff, more resources. The demand was overwhelming. A message appeared. From the Pulitzer Committee, Vincent's series had won. First disabled journalist to win for disability rights reporting. Charlotte smiled. sent congratulations, felt proud that her story had contributed to something larger. Another message from Dr. Sullivan, new protocol at the hospital, all OB staff required to complete disability sensitivity training. Charlotte's case had changed policy, small victories, incremental change, but change nonetheless. Charlotte's phone buzzed, unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Mrs. Hayes, this is Judge Patricia Hawthorne. I'm calling off the record. Your Honor, I wanted you to know, your case changed how I evaluate custody disputes involving disabled parents. I've ruled differently in 3 cases since yours. Protected mothers who would have lost custody. Your courage to fight publicly made me examine my own biases. Charlotte's throat tightened. Thank you for telling me. No, thank you for fighting. The system needs people willing to challenge it. The call ended. Charlotte sat in the quiet house, Emma sleeping peacefully, the night stretching ahead. She thought about the airport, 6 months ago, crawling across tile, abandoned, humiliated, broken. She thought about the woman she'd been, apologizing for existing, making herself small, believing her disability made her less. She wasn't that woman anymore. The airport had destroyed that version of Charlotte. The hearing had forged someone stronger. Emma had given her purpose. The community had given her meaning. She was whole. She'd always been whole. She just hadn't known it. Charlotte pulled up her laptop, began typing. My name is Charlotte Hayes. 6 months ago, I was abandoned at an airport while 8 months pregnant. Today, I'm a mother, advocate, and survivor. This is what I learned. She wrote for hours. Her story, her lessons, her hope for other women. Not for publication, just for herself. Documentation. Proof she'd survived. When she finished, Charlotte looked at the clock. 2 a.m. Emma would wake in a few hours. The cycle would begin again. Feeding, playing, growing, living. But for now, Charlotte sat in the quiet, in her home, in her strength, in her truth. Graham had tried to erase her, had calculated her disposal, had weaponized her disability against her. He'd failed. Not because Charlotte was perfect, not because she never doubted, not because recovery was easy. He failed because Charlotte refused to disappear. She'd crawled across an airport floor, but she'd stood up in court. She'd given birth alone, but she'd built a community. She'd lost a husband, but she'd gained herself. And that was enough, more than enough. Emma's cry came through the monitor, awake, hungry, needing her mother. Charlotte wheeled to the nursery, picked up her daughter, held her close. We're okay, Charlotte whispered. We're more than okay. We're whole. Emma settled against her chest, trusting, loved, safe. The future stretched ahead, uncertain, challenging, full of possibility. But Charlotte wasn't afraid. She'd survived the worst. Everything else was just living. And she was very, very good at living. Charlotte's story didn't end at that courthouse. It's still being written. Every day, disabled mothers reach out to the Worthy organization. Every day, someone finds courage in what happened at that airport. Every day, the community grows. If Charlotte's story moved you, if it made you angry, if it gave you hope, I need you to do something. Share this story, not for me, for the woman in your life who needs to hear it, for the person being told they're not capable, for the mother questioning if she's enough. Drop a comment telling me what moment hit you hardest. Was it the airport? The courtroom? The moment Emma was born? Your words matter. Your engagement helps this story reach the people who need it most. And if you want to hear more stories about survival, strength, and refusing to be diminished, subscribe. Hit that notification bell, because there are thousands of Charlottes out there, and every single one of them deserves to know they're not alone. The algorithm might try to bury stories like this. Don't let it. Like, share, subscribe. Let's make sure Charlotte's courage reaches the people who need it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. And thank you for being part of the community that says disability doesn't make you less. It makes you different. And different is powerful. See you in the next story.